See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
What do the Temple Knights have in common with Friedrich Nietzsche? That is today's subject. You see, we live in the 21st century, and we're talking about the Temple Knights of the 12th century. To properly understand them is completely impossible for us nowadays. I love to watch Albert Lynn's National Geographic travels to find the remnants of the Temple Knights in Accra or Cyprus. And they show me something that I cannot understand or comprehend fully. And the thing is, nor can anyone else. So we have to guess and speculate. So we can go into the mysteries of the gold and the power, which we have and will be doing in other episodes. But very, very important is that we use our intuition and a deep knowing inside of us. You see, the Temple Knights, when they started off, were part of the Roman Catholic Church. It was that same church in 1307 that abandoned the Temple Knights and gave free play to Philip the Fair to chase them out, steal their possessions. Now, of course, to do that, the Roman Catholic Church and Philip the Fair needed rather a very powerful army, wouldn't they? Here we have a well-organized, well-equipped, extremely wealthy, very strong elite monk corps, fighting like no one else in the world, defeating Islamic warriors. And here come the Pope and the French king, and they are able to fully take away this powerful order. So what I'm going to talk about today is a very interesting notion about good and evil and strong and weak. So please allow me to be somewhat of a philosopher with you. In the world of Christian morality, we shepherd the weak through the valley of darkness. Now, to shepherd the weak has gone into allowing all weakness to take control of society. It's not about winning, it's about participating. That is the same as saying that there is no competition. But if there is no competition, we would be living in a perfect world, but we aren't. There is always jealousy. And you must realize that the opposite of jealousy is honor. When you have honor, you cannot be jealous because you know how things are rightfully balanced. Sometimes, when you have a piece of bread, a weak person should have more, but sometimes a strong person should have more, in order that this strong person can go and collect more for the weak person. So to be totally honest would be to understand the difference between short-term and long-term, private interests and public interests. Now for the Temple Knights, they knew that they could only protect the weak if they themselves were strong, physically and spiritually. To get there, it required not only talent, but also discipline. If we relate this to our world today, we see, when we are honest, that evil has a firm grip on the world, and it has a firmer grip than the good. Because the good is innocent and defenseless. So what is good in this world is overshadowed and overpowered by evil. So if we confine ourselves to discussions on good and evil, or good and bad, it will get us nowhere. We can be done in 3 seconds. Evil rules. Period. And this hurts us, because deep down inside, every man is connected to God with its soul. So it hurts us that we see that if 1% of this world is evil, it will have a firm grip over the other 99%. Because evil rules. A lot of people who see this in their spiritual development will get depressed, because they themselves will fall victim, with their good intentions, to not per se evil people, but evil circumstances. Something bad will happen to them. This is life. Bad things will happen to you. Bad people will do bad things. Good people with good intentions will do bad things. Bad things will happen. Now, a good person can get depressed if a lot of bad things happen, and if they even just look around themselves in this world and see, this is a bad world. Evil rules. Yes, indeed. Now, this depression can go on for a lifetime, as long as you stay within the paradigm of good and evil. So what is the way out? What is the way of the Temple Knight? The way of the Temple Knight is, ironically enough, best phrased by the Joker.
See, their morals, their code, it's a bad joke. Dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the world allows them to be. I'll show you. When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. Introduce a little anarchy. upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.
So you see, the Joker makes the first step, the bridge. He makes the bridge. He says there is no good and evil. Only chaos. That is the first step of accepting life and death. Life as it is, and the unavoidability of death. What would the next step be? Because we cannot be stuck with the Joker, who is in fact an honest man. He says, don't worry, I'll only burn my half of the money.
Said you were a man of your word.
I am. I'm only burning my half.
And then he kills the man and steals his half of the money. So the next step would be to realize that evil is weakness, and that strength does not equal the good, because the good is overpowered by the evil, which is weakness. But above all, there is strength. Now, to attain this strength, one needs talent and discipline, because I can hear people think, how do I get there? You can't. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can become. It's something that you strive towards, but will never obtain fully. But you have to find your purpose in life through the striving towards that goal. You see, only God is omnipotent, all-powerful. Only God. But man can try to walk in his footsteps. And this is what Templars were trying to do. And this is what Friedrich Nietzsche is talking about in his work. Beyond good and evil. So beyond the concept of actually a lower form of morality, good and evil, lies the way of the superior man, which was the way of the temple knight. To get to strength. Because only the strong can defeat the evil weak, who are suppressing the good. Now I'm going to leave, if it was the Temple Knights who corrupted in a way, so that Philip the Fair was justified in his taking back power. But I know one thing, not in any justification for what Philip the Fair did or what the Knights Templar did, because this is not a discussion between Philip the Fair was bad and the Templars were good, or the Templars were bad and Philip the Fair was good. Philip the Fair is one of my favorite people in history. Because God favors the brave, and he was brave enough to take on the Temple Knights. And that required quite some bravery, won't you think? You have this disciplined, well-trained group of monks, warrior monks, who defeat cold, heat, maybe even have occult powers, magic within their boundaries. Archaeological knowledge, builders' knowledge. They studied and trained and studied and trained and studied and trained and studied and trained. All successful people spend 80% of their day reading, studying, 15% training, 5% working. And that's how you become strong. So the Temple Knights were predecessors of Friedrich Nietzsche. And because of their strength and their knowledge, not only were they connected to Nietzsche, they were actually also connected to ancient European tribes who spoke of not heaven, not this heavenly glory of pastel-colored gardens where you can walk and be in peace and harmony. Now they would talk about Valhalla, where there was fire and food and friends, friendship, to be the complete heaven. When do you feel most free? When you are walking blissfully alone somewhere, or when you are sitting by a fire, roaring with laughter with your friends, with food and drink, and probably cigars. I think they have a humidor room in Valhalla, don't you think? And the ancient tribes would fight, knowing that God favors the brave. So without fear they would fight till the death. Never do you retreat. Why would you, coward? Like the Spartans, like the European tribes, the Vikings, the Germanic tribes. Because death, when attained with the blood of the battle, runs deeper than the water of the womb. You see, in this discussion, it's very important to see that the phrase "blood runs thicker than water" is misinterpreted in the 21st century. People think it means that family is closer to your heart than someone else. Blood runs thicker than water, which means family first, and then maybe friends or whatever. But that's not the original phrase. The original phrase is that the blood of the battle runs thicker than the water of the womb, which actually means that people with whom you have a same goal, a same enemy, a same fight, for which you are willing to die, connects you stronger than the family ties with even your own mother. Forget silly morality ideas of good and evil and blood runs thicker than water. It is about strength and weakness, because only they will open the gate to the good, the truly good. the true concept of what right and wrong is. Because between good and evil discussions, everybody is an egoist. They will say, if they feel hurt, everybody's a victim. 21st century. Everybody's a victim and they're entitled. And then after being entitled and being victims, they are entitled to be a victim. Oh, something bad happened to me. This bad person did this to me. Oh, that's bad. Too bad. And evil is having a field day with a world full of victims who think something bad was done to them. Because evil can hide its own weakness behind the weakness of the people. If the people are weak, the weakness of evil men and women will not easily be recognized. So you do not need good men to fight evil. You need strong men and strong women to fight evil. And then there will be no more depression in anyone's life. Because then you realize that you do not need to find the good to combat evil, you just need to find the strong and all your own strength. And the Temple Knights knew this. Long, long before Friedrich Nietzsche reinvented that concept. They knew only if we are truly strong can we protect the good against evil. Don't forget, there were no women's rights, gay rights. There was no legislation. There was no Code Napoleon. There were bandits and robbers. And maybe here and there was a courthouse ruled by someone who had the biggest army. There was no democracy. Thank God there was no democracy. Because democracy propagates the victimization and the weak. It does not propagate freedom. It creates a cover for evil men and their institutions to rule and weaken the people. Democracy is like candy. It's sold to you as a child to keep you quiet, and it's bad for you. In the most recent series about Count Dracula, he states it perfectly. There's a woman coming up to him saying, "You must hate that women have rights." He says, "Oh, no, I don't mind that women have rights. I just don't understand that you people think that you have rights. All people." He says, I'm a 15th century warlord. What do you think?" He knows how the world works. You see, don't get me wrong. I love the candy. I would love candy to be as good for me as vegetables. Unfortunately, that is a lie. So to be able to understand the power of Temple Knights, you must let go of all notions of good and evil. The only answers you will find lie within your own heart. Do not accept or expect anything from the world. That is why Temple Knights would abandon all their worldly pleasures and ideas, because they knew it had nothing to offer. Only misery and depression. And they found themselves studying and training and studying and training and studying and training to become strong. Because only then could they experience God. And they would fight till the death. And they rightfully used their motto, Deus vult, God wills it. Thank you very much. Cheers. To the strong. So we do have all the time in the world, because time, as far as I'm concerned, is an illusion. And as once stated before, the Horace Lodge, who founded the word horloge, which is the French word for watch, and of course the word watch in itself is very interesting, because what does keeping time have to do with the ability to see? Now, at the Bureau of Occult Affairs, we found that we can, humble as we are, trying to raise the funds for all the research work that we're doing, we can ask for a donation. And a donation is, in fact, a gift, a present. And the present is something embodied in the whole concept of time. And the present is the same thing as your presence, that you are here, and that you are paying attention. So with your presence, and your presence, and your donations, you are saying, I am here, participating in this illusion. And the most fundamental thing we need to sustain life, if life is a mere illusion, is time.